Alright, so with this thing here, if you remove the back, you have a screw here, 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 and here. And you can pull this off. And you can get down into here. Okay. Pull that out, you'll be able to pull the whole rod out. So that's what we're going to do really quick. Let me see if I can find an Allen key that fits this one. Okay. One of them. They usually have two. Okay. Counter don't work on this. So now, just go in here and pull the whole thing out of here. And this has been lubricated and things like that, probably when it shouldn't have been. And it could contribute to some of the problems. So we're just going to wipe it off and clean it real lightly. Get some of this crap off of it. Okay, now something you want to do here, you want to get all the crap out of here. Get a blade like this. And then go like this. Scoop it. Get all this stuff out of here. And then do the other direction. Be careful, this thing actually is kind of sharp, the wheel. It actually can slice your fingers, especially if it's been used a lot. It'll get really sharp on the outside. So this is what I usually do with these. And I usually don't do it until there's a problem, because I'd rather not mess with them. Sometimes you mess with them and they act worse. So now something on these two is also there's a spring in here, and so depending on how tight you want this, I don't know if this should really be able to do that. But there's just little ball bearing springs here, and it's kind of just sitting there like that. So there is some lube in there, but honestly, like, it's really nasty, and it actually could be worse than we want, because if it's acting as an insulator, it's going to cause us problems. I don't know. I thought about just taking the thing and cleaning it, but I think what I'm going to do is just wipe it down, call it good, because basically, if you do too much, then it wants to bind. But the problem is that this has been owned by a lot of different people, and it's had problems, so people have tried to fix it. And with a lot of people, I think they just oil them, and they oil them too much. So this one here, I had adjusted it before, and it is kind of funky on here if you have these at the wrong angle. If you notice that they're not straight with each other, so the roller can kind of go at a cockeyed angle. So if you adjust this, you need to make sure that you kind of keep it like that. So I'm going to look and see if we have this Allen wrench. And we're going to carefully move it. Man, I don't know if I have one up here. MFJ also, they use pretty much common sizes for everything. So it's just going to be a standard size Allen wrench. So let me come back and I'll get one. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to hold this against my stomach. And I grabbed the wrong one. Thought I had the right one. Hold on. Okay, so I'm just going to loosen it really fast. and then snug it. And I just realized I don't want it on that end. I want it on the other end. And also, I need to try and put something in here to clean this before I shove it over. Because once I do that, I won't be able to get into the gap over there with all the nasty crud. Without like completely disassembling it. So we just shove this down in here. Rotate it. Try and get some of that stuff out of there. Now, I'll loosen it. I've shoved it down, it might be a little too tight. I don't know. I mean, how much does it need to move? So maybe I should give it a little relief, because it can't walk back and forth at all. Now if we have to, we'll go in and adjust this later on. There's a little bit of play this way. Basically, I just want to keep this nice and tight. Not a lot of lube on it. I want it to not burn itself up. Now, we'll need a toothbrush to clean the rest of this crap. What's funny is we look in here and you see it's pretty nasty. But I don't really see a heat signature down in there too much. So, it smells terrible though. So they would have just like wound this the other way and then put the roller on the outside. Well, this would be a better design, but they decided they were going to do this to save some little minute amount of space. I mean, it's a cool idea, but it doesn't work. That's the problem. In practice, it doesn't work. It ends up having problems. So, that's the MFJ, and that's what I do to take it apart. Don't take it apart all the way unless you have to, because you'll be sitting here trying to figure out where these pieces go, and you'll have to line them all up. And you can see here, like if you look at this, these are deformed. They're not made out of anything special, so they get deformed and they melt, they warp with heat, and they don't have a true form. That's why with a ceramic tube one, you might get it really hot, but it's not going to warp. You'll damage the coil instead. So this is just not a good design. In fact, the amount of money that you charge for these at MFJ, it's probably better to buy a better antenna and not use one of these. You know, I know not everybody's got the room, but the thing is, you're losing so much heat in this thing and so much power anyways when it doesn't work right, that how much power are you actually even getting out to your antenna anyways? So that's the thing. You know, I try to talk about this all the time on the channel about antennas and stuff like that. Spend all your money on an antenna. Don't worry about your radio, because it doesn't matter how good your radio is if your antenna sucks. Nobody's going to hear you. If you're using a G5RV or an end-fed antenna and you have room for something else, you're cutting yourself short. Those are called compromised antennas. So, You don't have to put up a loop. You don't have to copy what I do. But like I'm just saying, if you want to get out better, you need a better antenna, not an antenna tuner. An antenna tuner doesn't do anything for the mismatch at the antenna all the way to the feed line. So if you have 50 feet of coax, you still have a bad match from the antenna all the way up that coax. And what ends up happening is you're heating up the shield of the coax because the match is terrible. And then you're using an antenna tuner 3 feet away from your radio to transform that into something that the radio wants to see. And so the whole antenna system sucks, basically. And the radio is happy because it thinks it's matched. But since it's not, you're heating up the antenna tuner. And it's the coil. It's not going to be the capacitors, it's the coil. So it's better to have some kind of antenna that doesn't require a tuner. Like maybe a fan dipole, a maypole, even a Hustler 5BTV vertical would probably be, better than using one of these on something that's not matched well. But what we're doing today, though, is we're fixing the problem on this, and hopefully, it can be used. I'm using it on a loop antenna, and I occasionally use it to touch up the SWR on the Hustler 5BTV. The Hustler, if you tune that thing properly, it should cover every single band for you without a tuner, from the top to the bottom of every band except for maybe 40, and 80 definitely it won't. The Hustler, I think you're better off to buy a 4BTV, because 80 meters doesn't work real good on that. But I like to use that vertical to do FT8. It doesn't have 12 meters, it doesn't have 17, and it will give you trouble if you try and use it on those bands. It might look like it's working, but it doesn't put out very much power. So, anyway, I gotta go find a toothbrush to clean this thing up. We'll catch you guys later.